Bunch of guys, all right. So my name is Mike Quinlin. I'm from Indiana. I'm a local angler. I've been fishing since 1993. I was 23 years old. I had a little kid's tackle box with one tray in it. I had 6 crankbaits, a couple bags of worms, a few hooks, and a buddy asked me, hey, would you like to go fish a tournament? It's $40, it's all night long. We might win a little bit of money. I said, great, let's go. So we went out, we fished all night long, and we had 3 bass. They weighed about 9 pounds. Not too bad. We come in and got second place, and we won $400, and I thought I had found the greatest sport ever. You actually get paid to go fishing, and your wife doesn't care because you bring some money home. So from there, a few years later, 2001, the old Redmond circuit. Anybody fish the old Redmond circuit? How about BFLs? Anybody fish BFL? Well, the old Redmond circuit turned in, there you go. The old Redmond circuit turned into the Walmart Bass Fishing League, and he upped the entry fee to $200. And a couple of my knucklehead buddies talked me in to paying it and fishing it. And at the meeting, I'm sitting there waiting for my draw. There's a ton of boats. I end up drawing dead last, 176th boat out. There's probably not a worse feeling when you feel like you're on a few fish, especially at the Ohio River. This tournament happened to be at Rocky Point, Cannleton Pool, on the Ohio River, to draw it dead last. So once they finally called my number, I'm sitting there all by myself, no other boats. I run all the way up the river, 21 miles to a little creek called Lick Creek. It's about 300 yards long. And when I pull in there, there's 13 boats in front of me. Everybody's already fishing. And I thought, man, what am I going to do? I got no other place to go. So I drop my trolling and I start fishing. I fish all the way up the right-hand bank. I fish all the way back to the left-hand bank. And right about where I got back where I started, there's one laydown. And I pitched the jig on the end of the laydown, something about like this right here. And when I pitched that jig in on the laydown, I worked it all the way to the end. And when I got to the end, I just lost feeling of it. And about that time, I set the hook, and it's a 3-4. It's a really good fish for the Ohio River. You catch a 3-4 in a limit, you're probably getting paid. So I catch that fish, and by that time, a couple of the boats leave. So competition's getting a little less in there by then. I fish another hour, still nothing, and end up catching another fish. And it's a good fish, it's about 2 pounds. I thought, man, I'm gonna get good points now. Because other than trying to win money, you're trying to get points to go to the regional at the end of the year, where they pay the big money, by the way. So at the end of the day, these boats keep leaving. At the end of the day, I'm getting ready to go. I've got about 30 minutes to run back down the river to make way in. And the old man pulls up and he says, hey son, I seen you catch a couple fish. He said, how did you end up doing? I said, well, I got a pretty good limit. He says, man, he said, you're on me. He says, I never had fish all day. I said, you're kidding me. So I learned something. Am I getting bites? You guys have to tell me when I get a bite because I can't see with all the aeration on top of the water. You guys just yell at me when they bite you, okay? So I learned something that day. Even if you're fishing in a crowd, and it's hard not to do on the river because when you find an area that's got fish, a lot of other people's going to find it too, a lot of times. And you just have to fish through it. You have to remember, you're fishing against the fish, not the other fishermen so much. You got to make the fish bite. Whatever it takes, whatever bait it is, you have to make the fish bite for you. So I went to weigh in, and I got there. And MLF Pro Billy Lamont was standing in line, and he said, what do you got, Mike? I said, I think I got about 12 pounds. He said, oh man, he said, that's good. He says, matter of fact, he says, I think you're going to win it. No way. This is my first big tournament ever. couldn't want it. So when I weighed my fish in, the announcer says, "We have a new leader in the Quinlin tournament, $6,900 with a ring bonus." Unfortunately, unknowingly to me, I had promised my wife I'd buy her a new living room suit if I won. But I didn't think there was any chance I would win. But she got a new living room suit. And if the first tournament didn't get me, that one did. I mean, I fish everything now. I fish every weekend, everything I can get in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a few tactics.
You did?
How I find the fish on New Ohio River. And number one is a good practice. One thing that I like to do, especially if I'm looking at new water and I'm looking at the Ohio River, is when I pull into a new creek, I like to go all the way to the back. Never drop my trolling until I get all the way to the back. And then I fish my way out. Sometimes if I don't like the look of the water, I'll just leave. I'll go to the next creek. You only have so much time to practice. And usually me, I'm cut down to 1, maybe 2 days. And if you're fishing a whole pool, 70-mile stretch on the Ohio River, you got a lot of creeks to look at. So that's one way I deduct or eliminate some water. Another way is you want to look at your quality of water, whether it's up or down or muddy. I find that level water, if it's normal pool, is usually pretty good. If you get high water, it's great. A lot of guys shy away from high water. What I found is that, especially when that river gets up and they start pulling that water through, you get a lot of current. All those main river fish can't live in that current 24 hours a day. They have to get out. They're going to pull into a creek or a short ditch, maybe a small marina, and I love to target that stuff when the water gets up and gets rolling. Another thing is if you get a big local rain and it muddies the water up, if you go all the way to the back of the short creek, there'll always be clean. The next day, there'll be clean water. And those fish get drawn to that clean water. The bait, the bluegill, the shad, they'll all seek out that clean water. And it's overnight, and the bass will follow. That's another way on the Ohio River that you can find fish really quick, is look for that clean water. Probably the worst thing you can do is fish water that's had the bottle sucked out of it. Because as it pulls that water away from the banks, the fish have a natural sense to get away from that because they're afraid they're going to get trapped, and they will pull out and suspend over deep water or get off the bank. It seems like that they're really hard to catch like that, and usually it takes a couple days after that water normalizes or comes back up before they really move back to the banks. And you guys fish Tanner's Creek? Anybody fish Tanner's Creek? Fish Tanner's? That's probably one of the worst places because when they open the dam up, that's 43 miles down, it's amplified. The further you get away from the lock, it's amplified. So if they pull it a little bit down at the dam, it's going to drop 2 feet up there overnight, maybe in a few hours. Also, if they shut the dam up, it shoots way back up, and then it's not good for a little while after it shoots back up either. So normal water, when you get away from the dam, is good. However, if they're pulling that water, if you go down around Craig's or some of those lower creeks on the pool, that current positions those fish, it moves the bait around, it's pulling on them, and those fish get set up to ambush stuff. So your fishing's probably going to be a little bit better lower on the pool than it will be higher on the pool when you're pulling hard. So that's some of the strategies that I use to find fish on the Ohio River. And let me show you some baits that I like to use. One is a jig. The jig is actually pretty versatile. This here is a swim jig with a ditch pickle trailer on it. And there's several ways you can throw this swim jig. One is you can reel it right up close to the surface. Now these fish, yeah, they'll eat anything in here. No, they really like it. And you can reel it right along the surface. And usually, when you come over a piece of cover, that's when you're going to get bit. But you can reel it almost like a buzzbait right across the surface. They'll eat it. Or you can throw more like a crankbait, a little bit deeper in the water column, and they'll eat it like that too. A couple other baits that I like to use. By the way, what I brought up here was a 3700 tackle box, and I had a few baits in here. I can fish all the way from Maysville, Kentucky, to Paducah, Kentucky, on a 500-600 mile stretch, and I can catch every bass in the river on what I had in this tackle box today. A little bit of stuff that I packed in here is what I would use every tournament on the Ohio River. One of my favorite baits is also a spinnerbait. And if you notice, it's a triple back blade, gold, with an orange smaller Colorado blade. That is fantastic all the way up to the spawn. And the bass on the Ohio River will spawn anywhere when the water gets 62 degrees and gets level. Now with the rising and lowering of the river, a lot of times that pushes the spawn all the way into July. I've caught them mid-July in the river spawning, where usually May, middle of May, end of May on the lakes around here, they're done. The river, it pushes them way further into the year. And that bait right there, up to the spawn, is fantastic. After the spawn, I go to the same type of spinnerbait, but with a little lead. You can use this the same way, fish and cover, but you can reel it a little bit faster and cover water a little bit faster. And over water, the little lead seems to work a little bit better.
Yeah.
And the third bait in this series that I like is the buzzbait. A lot of people believe that they throw the buzzbait early in the morning. It's an early morning top water bite. I'm telling you right now, you can throw this bait all day long on the river. The only exception is in the mornings I would use more of a chartreuse white color, and then I use black later in the day. When the sun gets high, black is a fantastic color. A couple other baits that I use are little flat side handmade crankbaits. There's a guy right over here, Ricky Schreiber. He's making laser baits just like these. They're fantastic. They only go about 2 to 3 feet deep. You can crank them real slow. They've got a great wobble to them. There's nothing like handmade balls of baits for river fishing. There's been quite a few guys around this area that have made them over the years, and they're fantastic. So my final bait that I'm going to show you, this is the secret. I've been up here several times this weekend and I haven't showed anybody this. This is my secret bait. You guys tell me when I get a bite, okay? I got a feeling they're going to eat this thing up. He's already got it. I got to be real careful not to hook on this thing. Yeah, I think you like it. I gotta keep this hook buried in here. Tell me when they get it, okay? Can you see the action that it's got? You see how it really gigs? It's got an action like nothing else. It's just a regular tube. And something's pulling for it again. And got it again. Okay, I better get that out of there. So this is a regular 3.5 inch tube, but it's the way that we rig it that's different. We call this stupid style, because it's just kind of a stupid rig. That's how it got its name, stupid tube. What it is, it's an 1/8 ounce jig head, but we rig it to where the weight is internal, and the hook lays out across the top of the tube. So it's kind of like a Texas rig, but all they have to do is bite down on it just a little bit. The hook is completely exposed, and it's such a natural looking bait. I catch fish absolutely everywhere I go. I had a 7 last year on it. I had a 6-1 last year on it. I had a 738 this spring on it, fishing lakes. Probably won't catch one that big in the river, but you never know. But this is one of the #1 baits that you can throw any lake in the country whether you're fishing the river, St. Mary's, Indian, I fish all of them, and I catch checks on it. This is one of the top secrets that the pros are not talking about. I think there was a pro that just done a YouTube video on it the other day and mentioned it. He's talking about it, I guess I might as well too. But if you look right behind you there at Blue Rock, he's got the tubes, he's got the heads. And when I get down off here in a few minutes, I'll show you guys how to rig it. It's kind of weird the way you rig it the first few times, but I can show you how to rig it, and you can buy them right back there. You can also buy the same type of jig that I've got on back there, all the trailers. But this right here, again, is the stupid tube.
You're not going to bump your head.
And I will guarantee you, if you throw it, see the whirligig action that it's got, real erratic. I pair this with a 7-1 medium heavy rod with 15-pound fluorocarbon. Seems the best for me when I'm flipping, and that's what I like to do at the river. Mostly it's flip and pitch this thing, not so much cast it. But if you go to a lake, and if you're going to be fishing like a long point or a shallow flat, you may want to put it on a spinning rod and use like braided line with a fluorocarbon leader. That's the way I fish it on a spinning rod. This is also deadly. Bedded fish. You get that around there in the bed, that keeps standing. So that's pretty much what I have from the presentation today, and I'm going to get down here at the table, and again you can come up and check out what I got here, and I'll show you how to rig it if you want. And thanks everybody for coming. Anybody got any questions right off the bat? If you do, you just come up and ask me or whatever. Check these baits out, okay? Thanks everybody.